the overall question about Black masculinity. I mean, you've said you see in your roles in The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which that's the first time I saw you, which I absolutely loved for reasons we'll get into. Lovecraft Country, The Five Bloods. They're part of a trilogy on Black masculinity. What do you want viewers to take away?
It's interesting, right? Because I think of the word the number three, right? And the thing about the number three is that we think, oh, that number symbolizes perfection, right? Um, there's always the trilogy, etc. Um, and that is how things are presented, right? What I feel I was trying to accomplish in my journey with those particular roles, and those roles all kind of came at a certain time. They all shared the same journal, actually. Um, and what was happening in that moment is like, okay, we have the opportunity here to give the number four, right? Which to me, and in numerology, is a number of completion, right? And so with that, we get a complete picture, a complete mosaic of what it is to be, at least in this iteration, and for that time in those years in which those films came into the world, a time to show here is Black masculinity, um, to the, you know, trying my best, in
Hmm.
completion, in completion, right? What does that mean? We have the strength of the culture. We have the vulnerability of the culture. We have the complexity of the culture. We have the intellect of the culture. Now, listen, one man and one man cannot do that, right? Not one artist. Not one artist cannot take on that entire feat. However, in my journey, in my walkthrough, what I was getting to explore in that was that idea, and that was my mission and objective in portraying those fellas.
In particular, about The Last Black Man in San Francisco, one of the things that made it a standout for me, aside from your performance and the storyline, it was the fact that for the first time on camera, at least for me, I saw Black male vulnerability. Black men being able, crying on screen, being emotional, um, embracing each other, comforting each other. And for
Yeah,
the first time, I felt like I was seeing me and my life and who I am in 3D as
mhm,
opposed to two-dimensional or a caricature of
mhm,
who Hollywood says I am that I can't even relate to. When you take these roles, do you find that you either push back against maybe portraying the character in a two-dimensional way, or are these roles written with the complexity of what it means to be specifically a Black male in America, since all of these characters we're talking about are Black men in America?
mhm. Um, where do I start? I'll break it down like this. To me, my job as a actor, my job as an artist is to always tell the truth. And I think it is a mixture of a few things. I think on the page, literally, and you have to understand, on the page, we used to do this exercise in drama school where Laura Henry, who was one of my beautiful acting teachers, would say to us when we would watch cinema, uh, as you're watching the movie, think about the writing that's that they're saying, right? To be or not to be, okay? That is literally TOB, etc. Right? There is nothing there. There is nothing there. That is just the language. That is just as we would say, the sound of the moment. It is then our job as the actors to go, okay, well, how do we make this sound pertinent, relevant, and truthful? And so for me, I did have the benefit of having great writers and people who allowed me to embrace that language and to push that language forward. But there's so much responsibility on the actor, on the artist to add in behavior, right? I can say in all of those pieces, there is no line that says, and if it was, I probably marked it out, character laughs here, character cries here, they embrace. None of that was on the page. All
Hmm.
of that comes from the written word inspiring behavior, right? And so one of the things that makes things a little wild is that I I I don't watch too much cinema. When they say it's hot, I'll check it out. If it's a contemporary of mine, I like to know what's going on. But I try very much to just look outside and go, okay, what is it that I've experienced? What is it that I see my brothers experiencing? And the cheat sheet for me is I'm always trying to tell the secret. So when you
Hmm.
watch Last Black Man in San Francisco, based off your evaluation just now, I would say that is irregardless of how one feels about the film. But if you feel, oh man, Montgomery Allen and Jimmy Fails represent or show, right, the secret, right, the secret of a culture, right. That's the beautiful thing about culture. There's all these forms of decorum. There's all these ways of thinking, that ways of behaving, ways of interacting with each other, that we do not necessarily. They don't really ask you to do that in the job.
Hmm.
It's not mandatory. People make it's not mandatory, but for me, it's kind of the only way I know how to get after it. Something that really excites me about it.